like to call Property Management Committee to order. Can you hear me now? Okay. And I would like to read this coming from our governor. This meeting of the Property Management Committee is being conducted electronically pursuant to Governor Bill's Lee Executive Order 16. I would ask for a motion that conducting the meeting electronically is necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion? Do you have a second?
Second it.
Got a second? Call the roll.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes. Okay, first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the minutes and find them in order. And motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second. Any discussion? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, property inventory discussion. And I would like to call our deputy mayor up here to discuss it. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just gotten all settled back there in my little spot and was the committee asked me last month to I showed some properties to you that was in our property inventory that might be available or we might want to put back on the tax roll or to sell or to send letters out to in surrounding these pieces of property. I was asked for the task to put some values on those properties. We gave you some handouts last week. Our county engineer, Mike Hughes, had put together a spreadsheet type deal, but it's really on a single page stating everything from the address. If it had an address, if it didn't have a house on it, it was just a vacant piece of property, then it had a description. Showed your acreage, your deed reference, your plat book reference, your property zoning, the surrounding zoning, the commission district, and what those, whose commissioner districts there were, what kind of utilities are on that property or nearby or at the road, existing structures, FEMA flood zone, the topo, sinkholes, if any, hydraulic features that we could see or detail from any of the things that we have on our computer systems. The USDA soil type is on there, and then any miscellaneous information that we would put on there. Those pieces of property are in front of you, and as well as on your screens. For those viewing at home, if you can't get those, we'll get you a set to you. But what I've done is look through them, talk to the mayor about them, and we're presenting these to you today to show you what we have, and then to throw out some numbers, should throw out some information here and then your decision as far as the committee of what you want to do. Mike, if you would pull up our first one, which I think is East Tremble Road. Yes. Milton, it's already up.
Yes, sir.
This piece of property is at the, it's kind of a landlocked piece of property. At the backside, it's got a steep grade to it, landlocked, rock. I did go to the property assessor's office and pull information on all these properties that we're getting ready to talk about, and then we put a value to those. And so this being the first one, we'll fall right in line with the rest of them. What would you prefer me to do? To throw out that number to you and let you think about that and write those down if you want? I didn't put them on anything that you have actually got in front of you right there. And then we can go through all of these, and then you can decide what you want us to do from this point on.
I think it'd be a good idea to just pitch the number out, keep it short and sweet, and your methodology on the first one, but don't repeat your methodology on the others.
Okay.
You know, it might be handy for the public. And
Yes, sir.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
Is this number that you're going to give us the assessed value from the property assessor's office?
We have the property assessed value. They've put a value on, with them being county pieces of property, they've just kind of come up with a comparable number with their system and thrown out there to us, and that's what we've put down here. East Tremble Road has 4.0 acres. It's we had valued it at $30,000. I'll go to our number 2, unless there's any questions.
so just, again, your methodology was asking the tax assessor to
Property
do a
assessor.
comp. Did they do a comp?
Yes, sir. I did a comp as far as your real estate comp, and as well as the property assessor's comparables. And so we just compared those two and put a number down there. Yes, sir. Some of these commercial pieces of property.
Did you mention the intent is on like this landlocked piece is to send out a letter, if approved by the committee, send out a letter to the
Surrounding property owners, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Or property owners, and see if anybody's interested, you know, because it's landlocked, and we acquired it, I believe. Mike, didn't you say we've acquired this one twice?
The first one, yes, was a delinquent tax twice. The first time was in, I think, in 1985, and then we sold it in 97, and then it came back into the county's inventory in 2013.
Okay, so we would send out a letter to find out who the 4 property owners are surrounding that, send a letter to them, make an offer, say, this is our price, or make us an offer.
And that's the intent on all of these, unless you want to list these properties for sale, you want to auction these properties for sale. Otherwise, we would, or we can send a letter out to the surrounding property owners. You'll see some others, it's like a remnant. It's a very usually used word, a remnant of a piece of property, something that might connect, and you'll see one here in a few minutes that connects a landlocked piece of property. It's like 16 foot wide. We showed you all that last month. Something like that might really help the person in the back or the side of each side. So we would send a letter out to all 3 or 4 of those people, property owners, and see if they would want to purchase at the price that we put out there, and you decide on.
I think we should offer it to them, the ones that owns property, join it first, just to see what it is, and give them a date to give us an answer,
Yes, ma'am.
and then maybe auction or whatever.
It's a good idea. I'll run through these, and please feel free to ask any questions, make any comments that you would like, and then we'll go into the discussion of how you want to deal with them. The next piece of property is Stuart's Creek Road. It's 3.2 plus or minus acres there. This piece of property is on the backside of a subdivision. Yep, Mike's got it up right there. It shows the site. This piece of property also is landlocked, rock, very steep. You've got the layout there with all the information that I described on the first one, and we'd put a $30,000 value on this piece of property. Like I said, it was 3.2 plus or minus acres on that one. Our next piece of property is the 600 West Burton Street, Murfreesboro. This is .46 of an acre, plus or minus there. We looked at the values on this, and we talked about it. Now, this one right here, the mayor was suggesting to the committee that we don't sell this piece of property for future endeavors that the county may have, since our archives building is right next to this, as well as our maintenance building is at the back of the archives building there on Burton. So this really kind of connects the dots. So that was, I didn't go ahead and put a value on it. I was working on it, but the mayor's suggestion was not to sell this piece of property. But if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it in a moment as well.
Mr. Chairman, that's just my recommendation. If the committee wants to sell it for $1.5 million, then, that's the committee. I just make a recommendation. Whatever it may come up to be. I don't know, but I think some comparables you were looking at, Steve, were in the $1 million range, right?
The property right beside it, let's see, no, that was another one. Yes, sir, this one right here could very well get that high. The property assessor put it down about $250,000, but really and truly that's a low assessment compared to it being on a corner, and the situation there with it being the zoning and everything that this piece of property offers. So. Okay, the next piece of property is your fourth piece of property right here. It's 400 West Main Street, Murfreesboro. It's .53 of an acre, just a smidge over a half, plus or minus, of an acre there. The property next door used to be the rental. Before that, I'm trying to think what it was before that. Bank. That's right, it was a bank. Then it went to, I think, Enterprise Rental or something there. It sold back this last year for $810,000. Our piece of property is on the corner there. It doesn't have a building on it or anything, but it is just a smidge over a half acre, and we had valued it at $500,000.
We bought that back in 1887, if you'll see the footnote at the bottom of your map.
And then our fifth piece of property that I have for you, which is our last piece of property, was the one I was mentioning at the beginning. This is Midland Fosterville Road. It's .23 of an acre, plus or minus here. As you can tell, it's a long, slender piece of property going from the road, Midland Fosterville Road, down to this landlocked piece of property back here. We had some interest on it back prior COVID from Building and Codes and Planning. A gentleman who was asking about that. We could get in contact with them again, but at that time we weren't really doing anything with our properties. So again, this would be a good piece of property to put out and mail out to all the surrounding property owners right there and see if we have any interest, and we valued that piece of property at $5,000. Was there any questions or anything else that I can answer or help you with?
Mr. Chairman, the first two were indeed $30,000 each. That your first piece of property.
Yes, sir. East Tremble Road was 30, and Stewart's Creek Road. Yes, sir.
Is there any questions? Well, I like the suggestion of sending the letters out on the first piece of property that you presented and the second piece. I think that would be a good idea, and see what the adjoining property owners would like to do, if they would like to obtain that property. Anybody else got any suggestions? Commissioner Gannon. Go ahead.
Hey, you said the East Tremble and Stuart's Creek, those two. Probably number 5 too, the Midland
Yeah, number 5 too.
property.
Midland, Fosterville Road, yes, sir.
Letter maybe sent out.
Yeah.
.23 acres, yes, sir. That's the last one I presented to you there on that narrow piece of property going back to the landlocked piece of property.
You know, the number 1, number 2, number 5 that you showed us. I had a question about the Northwest Main Street. Is that a piece of property that we could possibly use, just like the one that's on 600 West Burton Street?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
The 400 West Main Street. Is that
Yeah.
a piece of property that we could
jail
possibly
property.
use in the future county?
Yes, sir. It used to be the old jail piece of property. Our old jail
Okay.
used to be on that piece of property. We've used it a few times in renovations to the courthouse as well as to the archives and a dump lot for gravel and rock and dirt. It was cleaned off after the renovation of the courthouse, and then they used it for a dump lot again for the archives building that they just built. So we'll have to get some dirt and rock off that piece of property.
Okay. All right, that's all I had.
On that piece of property,
To the old jail.
Oh, yeah. Mike just pulled up an archive picture of the jail there.
Yeah.
I never frequent there. I never was there.
on that piece of property, you said a good asking price is $500,000.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and also across the street there, where the probation building is, I think they sold that, didn't they? No, they're just waiting for us to get out of it.
Yes, sir. I signed the lease on that will take probation through the end of April. So we'll be out May 1, and I think we're ahead of schedule over here at 20 North, so that's where probation will be moving out of that building. It was bought by a company out of California, I believe. That's who we pay rent to.
Yeah.
And so probation will be moving to 20 North here on the square, and occupying the first and second floor of the old judicial building. So I think it's a fair price.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to throw a motion out. I make a motion to place the 3 remnants I make a motion to take the 3 remnants to the neighboring owners and offer them the property at this price and entertain all offers.
Second.
That would be-
By Commissioner Gannon.
Yeah, I want to make sure we know, like, do you want me to use the
first piece of property?
So let me do it this way, Rachel.
Okay.
I make a motion that map 6518.
That's Tremble,
Number
East
1.
Tremble Road.
Oh, let's do that. I make a motion that East Tremble,
East Tremble Road,
Stuart Creek,
Stuart
and
Creek
Midland,
Road,
Fosterville
Midland, Fosterville. Yes, sir.
be offered to the adjoining property owners
Okay.
at the price.
1, 2, and 5.
1, 2, and 5.
Yes, sir.
Try to understand that. Did I get a second on that? Yeah, Commissioner Gannon, yeah. Any
I got you.
discussion on this motion? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I just wanted to clarify, make sure that we're going to draft a letter, and we're going to send it to these surrounding property owners for these 3 pieces of property at this price. If they were to come in lower or higher, I know what we would do if it was higher, but lower. Do we negotiate, or would he bring it back to this committee, or we give the mayor the authorization to sell the property?
Who so we would, I would revise my motion to give the mayor with one accountability partner, I guess it's Steve, to negotiate on our behalf. Is that cool? Dave, would you second that or support?
Sure would, yes. I'll second.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just wanted to make sure I was clear. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we can just add that to the original motion, can't we?
If
We just add it to your original motion.
I wanted to
You want to
add that to my original motion.
Okay. All right.
everybody's good with that. Okay.
All right.
To clarify, Mr. Chairman, 3 and 4, we're holding off on those right at this time.
I have another motion. May I? I would like to make a motion that
Question, see?
that Burton Street be held in the county's possession until further notice.
Okay, that's only on
That'd be West Main Street.
West Main and Wright. Oh, well, that's just the Burton and Rice Street corner, David.
It's that one piece of property?
I'm calling it
okay, I'm
specifically.
sorry.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on the one piece of property on West Main. Is that correct?
No, sir. The Burton
West
Street,
Burton Street?
600 West Burton,
Okay,
be
is that
held
the
in the
one you want
county's
us to
possession till,
You want us to hold that one?
yes, sir.
Okay. Motion and a second in discussion? I thought Commissioner Gannon, did you second that?
Commissioner Gammon, did you second that motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Discussion on that? If not, just call the roll.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes. Okay, we got one more, we got one piece left. You got a motion on that?
I think the only remark that I've got, I think it would be prudent to acquiesce to the mayor's recommendation there on Burton and kind of put that on the back burner and put some feelers out for, it seems like this, the one on Main Street would be the most likely one that could generate some interest in, so, you know, that's my feelings on it.
I'll put that in a motion. I was going to just, or we could just discuss that, because we need to discuss that one. I don't, so.
Making that a form of a motion?
Want to make that a motion to? So I'd like to tighten it up a little bit. I would like to, well, I'm awfully waffling, because I don't know that we just simply say, let's make a motion, list and sell it, let's make a motion auction. So let's, do we do a professional comp? Do we, I don't want to make a motion to sell it. I think perhaps I'd rather converse about ways to get it out there before I make before a motion's made. So is the 500K a sufficient comp that we floated at 500, or do we list it?
Well, you could always make the motion to auction both of these pieces of property off, and we always reserve the right to reject any and all bids.
That is true.
So whichever way would be the quickest, cleanest, best way to do it.
You prefer an auction? Is that kind of what you're leaning towards?
Had some pretty good luck on the other building.
I'd be glad to do it again for the county the same way. Wouldn't charge any advertising, wouldn't charge, I mean, I'm an employee of the county with auction license and real estate license as well. It's just, I'm on the clock. It's just another
Job assignment.
it's just another thing that I can do for the county and enjoy doing it. And you are correct, Commissioner, that once we offer this, once it reaches top and final bid, then you can deny it if we were to have a bad day and it were to bring $25,000 and you go, man, we're not selling this property for $25,000. You know, you could set a reserve. Once, if we meet that reserve, if we don't, then we've got negotiating. If it goes over that reserve, then we're all winners. And that's what happened on the bank property. Y'all set the reserve, and it went over that. So there wouldn't be any buyer's premium charged here or anything. We closed the property just like we did, or we would close the property just like we would the bank piece of property, and we would advertise it the same way. So basically, your only expense, or county expense, would be whatever the advertising dollars are, and that's whatever they are. That's what they are.
Steve, but before you make your motion, Phil, I'd like to ask the mayor his feelings about Burton. You strongly feel that we need to hold out on that and maybe just auction off this one, because we don't know what's coming down the line.
We don't. Being so close to our archives, you see on the map that was transferred to us from the Rutherford County School Board a few years ago. But it's so close to our archives. But right now, Ben's back here in the audience, and
may I interject, Mayor? May I interject? We've had a motion, a second, and approved putting that one back on the shelf.
Yeah.
The Burton.
Well,
It's off the table. Unless we want a motion to bring it back, it's off the table.
Yeah, it's already off
Is that
the
correct?
table.
Great.
Yeah, because Commissioner Dodd made a motion and Commissioner Gannon seconded that we hold that piece of property on Burton Street.
Burton, yes, sir.
And it
Yes,
passed.
sir.
And until further notice, so if we choose next week or next month to
Correct.
pull it out there, but as of tonight, it's, unless you disagree,
To
it's
hold that piece of property.
just Main Street.
just correct. Correct. Yeah.
And on the West Main Street property, I would like to see us have the auction, true enough, but maybe put a time frame on it when we are out of that building across the street. In other words, in April or May, when we out of that building across the street, because we can see what they're going to do in that building. And it might generate some more, buyers for our piece of property.
It's a good idea. That's a good idea. So maybe if we get in over there in May, then you're looking at maybe a fall auction like August or September or something like that maybe.
Correct.
Or whenever you want to. I mean, that's up to the committee.
Because whoever bought that property across the street got an idea of what they're going to do with it. Because I know they paid a good penny for it.
At one time, it's been a couple of years ago, but there's a vacant lot right next to that, and it's fenced in. Yeah, there was some talk of putting some condos in there, right on Main Street, and tearing that building down where we're at in probation, and have enough for parking and condos. So, if it depends on what the economy does, it's got a lot of possibilities. I like our lot because we got two streets, water, sewer, everything's there. It's a Main Street property.
Who owns the vacant lot that was going to be condos? Do we know? Does the city have any applications for activities as far as we know?
Not at this point. Taylor Wright has got has the building list. He's put up a lease sign already in the windows, knowing that he's trying to lease it out, but he may want to sell it too. But he owns the building and that open lot's behind.
Does own that? Okay.
Yes, sir. It's my indication. Not Taylor, but the guy from California that Taylor represents.
Been that company from
Yes, sir.
California. Any more discussion on the West Main Street property? Everybody understand the motion?
We haven't.
We don't have a motion.
Yeah, so, and I want to hear from the Zoom guys, so I'm going to make a motion to internally auction West Main Street like we did the old Bank and Trust, the coin exchange.
Can we,
You want to put a
can
time
you put
frame?
put a time frame in your motion?
Just want to say fall or something like that, or just whenever?
2021.
Okay. Okay.
And with a reserve.
Okay.
Yet to be determined.
Well, I don't think we need to say that reserve publicly.
Okay, we need comps, and then we'll think about reserves. So I don't need to get all that into the motion. Okay.
Who seconded it?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Cook, I think.
Oh, Commissioner Cook already seconded it? Okay.
Okay.
Any more discussion on West Main property? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, Christiana Volunteer Fire Department lease.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a lease here that was created by our county attorney. There's a piece of property on the corner of Rock Springs and Midland Road, a little less than an acre, that Christiana Volunteer Fire Department had approached me about using as a second station. They have a number one station they run out of over on Sledge Road, which is on the other side of the railroad tracks. And they are the only volunteer fire department that still has an ISO rating of 6. With this other station on the opposite side of the railroad tracks, running out of that, they give them 2 stations. That way, if a train's coming, that's one of the things ISO looks at. I feel confident they could drop that down to a class 5, which would help their insurance rating. This is created by our county attorney. It's for 10 years. And it allowed them to operate and use that station. They've already been using that station for probably about 2 years, but they wanted to lease. They wanted the county to create a lease for them, and so I ask your permission to move forward with this.
Mike Hughes, can you put that property on the overhead?
The Christiana Volunteer.
Okay, I found the Station 1. What was the address of
Right across the convenience center, from the convenience center, right there on Midland Road, Rock Springs Midland Road.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I say this is in my district, and I can honestly say I went there Monday night. It is an awesome facility over there, and they are doing great work. And if we can help them out and do this, this would be phenomenal.
Okay, and that is in Commissioner Buchanan District, and she's already...
The Sledge Road is not, but the Christiana Fire Department, I think the Sledge Road is a Pettis Reed.
Okay.
But, no, their main station is on Sledge Road. This is a two-bay station that Rockville used years ago. It's on the corner of Midland Road, right there at Rock Springs. I think, let me see it. They put the address in here. It's around the 4,000 block.
Yeah, I've got that corner pulled up on Google, Midland and Rock Springs,
Yeah,
one of the sheds on the corner.
yeah. So it's a little less than an acre.
I have one question. This came through Public Safety Committee, unanimous approval. Commissioner Buchanan, you going to make the motion?
Yes. Larry,
Yes, ma'am.
can you do something for me? Repeat, you're needing to do the lease, right? Is that what?
Yes, this station belongs to the county, and they're wanting to use it. They just want a lease on it. They're paying the propane and electric on it already, and they just wanted a guaranteed lease where they could use that building. It's like a 10-year lease. I think it's $10 for 10 years, and that they will pay the county. And they just feel more comfortable about. They want to do some upgrades to it, and they just feel more comfortable if they had a lease on it from the county.
Okay, I would like to make an motion to allow Christiana Fire Department to lease this building on a 10-year status.
Of course, that's renewable too. With the county and Christiana agree on it, after 10 years, they can continue to use it.
Okay.
I will second that motion.
Got a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any more discussion? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan? Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay.
While I'm here, I want to give you an update. When we created the county fire department, we took over a Walt Hill volunteer fire department out off Jefferson Pike, which is right there in front of Republic main office. We've had, since we moved in that station, we've been operating out of it. We did some remodeling on it. We've had a lot of issues with the septic system on it. We did add some more lines to it. I've been working with Mike here a lot with it, and one of the main issues is it's a low spot right there where the lines are at. So we've had a lot of problem with the sewage backing up into the station, and it got to such a point when all the ice fell and collected in snow on top of that. When it started melting, it ripped the gutters off the front of the building, off the back. We have rotten rafters in it. We're trying to gain information on what it's going to cost to fix this, but one of the biggest issues is where it settles right there. All that ice and stuff just saturated the ground, and we're going to get 4 inches of rain this weekend. So we had to move out of the station, and with the help of Murfreesboro Fire Department, we moved that station. We run out of the fire station on Thompson Lane, which is in the city, which is kind of out of our district. I don't know. I'm thinking it's probably going to be at least 2 months before we can get this repaired. And we've worked with some other people who do septic systems, trying to get them to look at it and give us an idea of what it would cost to fix it, if it is fixable. Some of us have told us that we can go in there and haul a lot of dirt in there to raise that up where it's not a low spot, but it depends on what kind of dirt you put in there, whether it will work or just if it'll help the situation or not. Basically, there's 400 foot of field lines, which is about equal to a residential home. The problem was it was a volunteer fire station, which was very seldom used just when people were there. Now it's being used 24/7, 365 days a year. There's 4 guys there all the time. And so it's got a lot more capacity, and it's just not able to keep up. So I just want to bring it to you and make you aware of what's going on, and we're going to try to do what we can to repair that and fix it. But I think the septic system is going to be a issue and that we may not be able to overcome. So there has been talk in the past about trying to tie into Republic, which they're going to try to tie that whole facility out there into the sewer system with the city, and they talked about us being able maybe to do that, but I don't know what the status of that is. But I just want to give you an update on that, and we're out of that station, and hopefully we'll be able to get an estimate on what's going to take to repair it and get back in it, because that area is out there kind of standing out there by itself, and it kind of leaves it unprotected. Not totally unprotected, but it slows our response down quite a bit.
How old is that building?
This was basically a pole barn that Walter Hill built back years ago, and we went in and they didn't even have a ceiling in it. We put a ceiling in it, we insulated it, we totally rewired it, put new lights in it, and actually put a concrete pad out front for the trucks to come in and out of. And basically it's just a pole barn that we've been able that has a kitchen and a day room in it where they stay in the bedrooms, but it's probably 20 years old.
Sorry to say, I thought it was about 20, because I know the landfill's been out there a while, and I think I remember it being out there 30 years ago. So.
Well, yeah, it used to be out there on 231, and Republic donated that land to Walter Hill, which was transferred to us when we took it over. So the county does own the property, but it's, we're basically running out of a pole barn right now when we're out there. So.
And I've got the plat up on the screen. It was created in '95 as the Walter Hill Volunteer Fire Department, and it's only 1 acre, and that's the problem. We run out of real estate. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So there's only so much room that we've got to add field lines. You can kind of see the aerial imagery. This is where they added more field lines. The original lines were down here. We added more up here, but still, that's not enough for the continual use and the number of people that we have working in that fire hall.
My estimate, talking to people who are knowledgeable about this, so I don't know, is that we probably need about at least 1,500 to 2,000 foot of field lines, and we've only got 400. So it's been a challenge.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'd like to recognize and publicly thank the City of Murfreesboro, Mayor McFarland, Chief Folks for stepping up when Chief Farley called, and they answered our time and need. When the septic tank failed, we couldn't continue to let our employees continue to stay in there, so we moved them over to Thompson Lane inside the city facility. Am I correct, Chief?
That's correct. And and let me add too, all 3 shifts, they've been very, very welcoming, very hospitable, working with our guys, and it's been a great experience, and we owe them a lot. And too, I say that down the road, if it's going to be close to 3 months, we might want to pay some kind of rent or some kind of compensation, whatever y'all feel like is necessary.
Have you checked some kind of double wide or something in a pumping hall on the sewage? What other options have you looked at?
Well, the only other option is we could rent a shower and bathroom like they have at these weddings on wheels, but the only problem is they want to tie into your current septic system, and if they don't, then they have to come get the trailer, take it, empty it, and bring it back, and then I think that's $2,000 a week, but they did give us a rate of $1,000 since it was a county, so $1,000 a week is pretty steep.
It is. Well, we'll continue to work on this issue and report back to you. Thank you, Chief.
I just want to make y'all aware of that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is archives.
I can give y'all a update on the archives expansion. I'm just going to run down through the notes that I've taken from the contractor. The electrical, 90% complete. We've got a new transformer. Electrical service is 100% complete. The plumbing is 100% complete. HVAC is 100%. Fire protection, 100%. The roofing is complete, less they still have some coping to do. The exterior wall panels they're supposed to start those in about 2 weeks, and the brick is about 90% complete. Interior drywall, 98%, and the doors, all the doors are 100%, and the scissor lift going to the second floor is 100% complete. Probably could be moving in there in maybe 3-4 weeks. So
About a month?
that would, at least a month. We should be in there at least within a month, I would think.
Any questions on the archives building?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make one comment. So if you remember, it's probably been some time, but this will be a really needed building because we'll be saving money for the Sheriff's Department because we're leasing a warehouse down in Laverne. And every time that they need a offense report that's in storage, we have to go down there and we pay them at the door. You can't go back and pull your own. We pay them at the door to go retrieve the offense report or the file, and then they bring it to us. And if we need a copy, they'll copy it and charge us for that, and then they charge us to put it back in the warehouse. So we'll be moving all those and canceling that contract. And also we have, if you recall, out by the Sheriff's Department, we have a couple of tractor-trailer trucks that are full of files that have to be kept forever. We'll be moving those into our archives in a more safe and secure place.
Okay, that's good. 20 North.
Okay, the same contractor is doing 20 North. The electronic air conditioning controls will be completed within 2 weeks. The hardware, the doors and the hardware are 98% complete. The security cameras are 100% complete. The elevator modernization is 100% complete on the north side of the building. They haven't started on the front side. The equipment's there, but they haven't started on it yet. The third floor new construction is 30% complete. The fire pump replacement is about 90% complete. That's a critical item as far as moving into the building. The punch list work on the 4th and 5th floor is 100% complete. And the furniture, we've got all the furniture delivered and set up on the 4th and 5th floor. It's complete.
Any questions on 20 North?
You're looking probably 1st of April, moving into that.
We could possibly, we've got, we're waiting on AT&T to hook up a phone line so that we can get the fire alarm and everything online. Then we won't be able to occupy it until that happens. But potentially the IT department could be moving in there sometime in March, and then in April, hopefully the 1st of April for the probation folks.
Any more questions on 20 North? If not, next on the agenda, One Stop.
Or do you want to talk about the One Stop?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. We've had meetings the last 2 days with the architects and all the directors. Lisa Kroll was there representing her department. Of course, we're still a few, probably several months away with the Department of Safety, even though they've signed off on it. But by the time we'll be negotiating, I'll be negotiating with the Department of Safety on how much we're going to charge per month per square foot. Probably within the next 2 weeks. But then once that's done, then Mr. Klein Sweeney has to send in, I think, the architectural rendering and work out those details. Then it has to go to the State Building Commission and approve. So by the time all that comes together, what we're doing here, we're moving forward and not waiting on them. But maybe by the time that gets done, then I would say sometime in August we can start construction, Ben, on that. So we're much, we've already got the architectural rendering, what it looks like. They met with the HVAC contractor, electrical contractor, all those guys today. So though we're kind of excited about it. It's going to be a nice building.
Questions on One Stop? If not, what about community care?
The community care, the contractor, he started, they're just in the F wing right now. They've removed the ceiling grid. They've removed all the corridor doors. They've cleaned most of the stuff off the walls, and they've rehung the ceiling grid in the F wing. They're prepping the walls for paint, and the administration they're approving, they're going over some of the fixtures to send off for the state to approve. And they're saying 20%. They're saying 20% complete. That I feel like that may be a little generous. It's something less than 20%. It's moving kind of slow. They're working. They're out there working. So
I think with Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I think with the governor's lifting of the ban yesterday on visitation out there starting this next week, I think there'll be more freedom, or at least I think they'll feel more comfortable. The contractors feel more comfortable and probably go faster because they're so restricted right now with nobody coming into the building. And now that we're going to allow members of families to come in and see their loved ones, it's going to have a whole new feeling. But our population's up. Commissioner Cook serves on that committee, so our census is looking good, and it's going to be a nice, exciting place when we get that new wing done. Hopefully fill it up as well, right?
Questions on community care? If not, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, any other business?
Yes, sir, I do, Mr. Chairman. Last month, we had talked about weekly drive, and we were going to get with the city of Smyrna and talk to them. Of course, we have 2 acres that is being used as a construction lot or a drop lot by the city of Smyrna. And then we have our 2 acres on the front that's being used for our busiest convenience center. We have decided we wanted to move down to the 20 acres that we have down where Lisa Kroll's second clerk's office is located. So we've checked with the clerk's office. The clerk's office estimated the property assessor's office estimated the property on Weekly, where our convenience center is probably valued at $115,000 per acre on the backside of the 2. I'm sorry, Steve.
I was saying, we're not comfortable with that, though, because of the commercial piece of property, and commercial is, all of you may know, is hard to put a number on certain commercial pieces of property because a lot of them are not listed back in when they sell. And so you have to really do a deep dive. Now, this is just the number that we got from the property assessor's office and placing on this piece of property.
That was on the back 2 acres.
Yes, sir, the back 2.
Okay.
So it's 115 per acre.
Per
and
acre
it's like
on the back side.
2.2 acres from that tree line back.
And so if we choose to sell that, make the offer to the city, you may want to consider a price to sell it to the city of Smyrna. The front 2 acres we wanted to retain and get the maximum that we possibly could. Even though that piece of property does not have sewer, I did get a price from Mr. Hercules yesterday, and he would give us easement at no charge coming from G Street, coming up to our front 2 acres, $30,000 around that neighborhood to run the sewer, and $1,600 for the tap. So, which would make our front 2 acres much more sellable, because it does have a lot of traffic, and I think we could probably, if we choose to do that, run the sewer. Mr. Chairman, my recommendation, we go ahead and negotiate running the for $30,000, $31,000, go ahead and get the sewer and the tap put on there, and then see what it appraises for at that point in time on the front 2, and then we'll negotiate with the city on the back 2 or anybody else.
Discussion on this front 2, Commissioner Dodd?
Thank you, Chairman. I see does Smyrna have sufficient easement on the north side of their property, Mike? And do they own the property there? Do they own that piece too?
Yes, sir. They own this piece too, and there's a wide gap right here, and that's where the sewer would come through here, and then we would have to maneuver it through to get it to our front parcel.
Mike, you'd probably just bring sewer to that tree line to the corner. Put your cursor on up to the middle of our property. Yeah, it would come in right there and just stub out right there, and then whoever wanted to build on it there could pull sewer from there then. The whole piece of property itself is about 4.4, give or take, plus or minus acres right there. And it's almost split almost evenly, 2.2, 2.2 from tree line to the, actually it's like 4.5. So, some options there for you.
What about running the sewage? And then, do I hear a motion to that effect, or?
The faster we move the sewer to our front 2 acres and get it there, the faster we could sell that piece of property, flip that money and put it into our new facility down by the clerk's office on, I believe that's Cadet Street, G, is that Cadet or G?
I think he's pulling it up right there, Mayor. It's G Street will be the back side.
Yes. G Street is where we're bringing the sewer from. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but down by Lisa Crow's office, that's also G Street.
Yes, sir.
That's I Street, 11th. G Street is back here.
Yeah.
And that's where you said that we should build it, because we're leasing the ball fields over on the upper right corner to Smyrna. So if we were to put our convenience center on the bottom left corner,
and this doesn't have to stay looking like a baseball diamond. The only way it looks that way is because that road right there, it used to be a road there. There's not a road there anymore.
that's where the Officers Country Club was located when Stuart Air Force Base was there. That's why that.
The old club?
Yeah, No, that was not that was the officers club. And Major Wall bought it after that when they pulled out and turned it into the Smyrna Country Club. That's why the curved drive was there in front of the front porch. The only reason I know that, I worked there as a bartender when he first opened that.
Hey, Mike, what's the topo on that Smyrna's laydown lot? Has it been cut or filled? It looks awfully rough.
The kind of weekly lane,
Yeah,
it's relatively flat.
And then we mentioned last month, commissioners as well, that, that's getting ready to, the flood maps are changing, or being updated rather. And so this area is not going to be affected as much as it was off that creek. And Mike, you can show them and explain that just a little bit.
Right.
But one of the main reasons we were thinking about moving this location, the mayor, has said to you before that this is the busiest convenience center that we have in Rutherford County. And looking at redoing our convenience centers and updating those and putting convenience back in convenience centers, we need a little more room and stacking lanes for cars. And this would take those vehicles off the road immediately and put them in a safer situation, a better situation than out on Weekly itself. And so we were looking at this piece, since we own it anyway, to just make our update down there. And then that would alleviate your property there on Weekly to do something with it. And then the city of Smyrna was, of course, interested in the backside for their dump lot, or whatever you say. What is it called?
Or lay down lot.
Lay down lot, that's it. And then the front part, then they weren't interested in, then we could market it somehow, or look at it even later to put it back on the market, or put it back on tax roll.
Now we need to move on if we want to do the sewer tonight, correct?
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Gannon?
this motion we're looking for, is that for negotiate for the sewer, or is that, or you want looking for a motion maybe to go ahead and go with it?
I think that's a price to go ahead and do the sewage, not negotiate. It just, we already got a price here of $30,000 to run the sewage and $1,600 to tap on.
Tap.
This is a street view image of where we would tie into the sewer on G Street and run between these two buildings. Both these properties are the town of Smyrna's, and they said they would give us an easement for that.
Your motion on the sewage?
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Gannon made a motion that you go ahead.
I'll second it.
Sewage, and Commissioner Buchanan has seconded. Any more discussion on the sewage? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, you got
The last thing I have, Mr. Chairman, is just on your way out, you may want to look. We brought the board up that was presented at Public Safety. Of course, you'll look at the tile over there on the far right-hand side. Chairman Pettis Reed said that orange would not go out in Rockville, so that's a color for the kitchen that's just not going to work. He likes Blue Raider blue better than the big orange. But it's a nice looking prototype architectural rendering of what the new fire and ambulance combo stations with a tornado shelter in the middle, you'll see there with the sleeping quarters. So if we get the grant, our plan is to build 5 of these. We'll know by the end of June, 1st of July. If not, the plan is to run, to go ahead through the budget process and build 2. The first being in Las Casas and the second one being at Kittrell to start out with, and then we'll see where we go from there. But we're hoping we get that grant. It's a $22 million grant, and that would allow us to build 5 of these. So just may want to look at that. We brought it up for you to look at it. So that's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
You talking about one of the buildings going out in the Kittrell?
Yes, sir. We met with the architects on the Kittrell site, and then they've moved it over, but it will go right in front of where the current Kittrell fire station is located. And then the one at Rockville will go on the elementary school property. When you get to Rockville, elementary's on the right-hand side, the middle and high school's on the left, and it will go on that piece of property just before you get to it's a vacant field right now on the elementary school property at Rockville.
Is there any other business to come before the committee? Not entertain a motion to adjourn.